Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Good to see you again, and welcome to episode 5 of Cards in Hand. We've got your boy, the Luffy TCG, or the Luffy TV, whatever platform you might find me on, as well as my man FTC Hobby right above me.
Howdy, howdy.
Yeah, and we have had a pretty exciting end of this year with OP05 being released, as well as only a few, but we get a little splash of some competitive online tournaments as well as some offline tournaments, and yeah, we had one in Paris that was a treasure cup. We also had the Los Angeles regionals, and then we had, last but not least, a 3v3 event that was also in LA. Yeah, LA is getting it all right now, man.
LA gets all the action. But real quick, I'm gonna
Yeah.
cut you off real quick here
Yeah.
because you just got back from Texas, my friend.
I did. I went to the great state of Texas. It was my second time.
And hey, Texan born and raised right here.
Yep.
And before we get into the One Piece, let's get to know Ian a little bit more. How was your experience, man? Did you have a good time?
Dude, I did. You know what was funny
All
though?
right.
Was the first time that I went to Texas, I went for something like 9 to 10 days.
Uh-huh.
And I had either 8 or 9 of those 9 or 10 days, I had Whataburger every single day
Yes.
because my best friend that I was staying with, yeah, there you go. Get that Whataburger sign up. So I literally had it almost every single day I was there. And not that I didn't like it, right?
Yeah.
My friend was like, you got to have it. And I tried it and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is great, right?
Yeah.
I had a good time, good experience. But
Oh,
you have it every single day. You're like, I want to try something
good.
different.
Yeah. That's completely reasonable. This is something I love. Whataburger.
Yeah.
Like. There's a part of me that just no matter what, I can't let go of Whataburger. But there is an admission I have to make. Whataburger has always been as known as like the Texas chain.
Yeah.
Came out of Corpus Christi way back in the day. But it got bought out by a Chicago-based company.
Oh, I heard
I
about
want
that.
to say like a while ago. And I gotta admit, it hasn't been the same since. The other part about Whataburger is this, and anyone that's lived in Texas for a long time and had their fair share of Whataburger can attest to this. Whataburger is also based on location, meaning there are some Whataburger locations that for whatever reason they just can't get it right.
Yeah.
Like they mess up your order, like there's just not the quality. I used to have a Whataburger, no joke, that was like literally 4 miles from my house.
Yeah.
It was terrible Whataburger, a terrible one. I would drive almost 20 minutes, like 15
Oh
to
my
20
God.
minutes further to go to the one that was that much better. And the thing is like Whataburger,
It's worth it, you know?
it is, but like man, I miss the good old days of Whataburger. I'll put it that way. I
Yeah.
still love it and I still eat it probably more often than I should to be quite honest, but hey, we're Whataburger loyalists around here.
Well, so the thing was, I went to like a billion times the last time I was here. So this time, we get to my best friend's house and my fiance meeting him for the first time, right? Because he hasn't been able to travel as much, and I haven't been able to travel to see him since 2017.
Okay.
So it's been a few years. And she says, "So what's what's a Texas staple that we should try?" Right?
Fair enough.
And he was like, well, there's Whataburger. And I was like, no. I was like, no, I had enough the last time I was here. I was like, it's good, but it's not like, oh my God, blow my mind. This is the greatest thing I've ever had. So
Totally fair.
but it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
But this time I wanted to try something different. So we went to a sushi spot in San Antonio. So if you live in the San Antonio area, you're ever visiting, you got to check out this place called Wasabi. It was fantastic, bro. We got oh my God.
In our local Discord, we got some people that are just like sushi enthusiasts. No matter what restaurant, I mean, they've been to them all, and some of them are in your Discord. And so when you post a picture of
the boat,
well, I sent you the text because they hit up they posted a picture of your sushi in our Discord, and they're like,
That's
"Hey,
awesome.
where's homeboy at?" And I was like, "Well, let me shoot him a text and see where he's at." So
that's why you were asking.
Yeah. No, I relayed the information to the local boys, but yeah, you know what, man, like I'm a wimp when it comes to sushi. I can eat like
Oh,
the Americanized sushi all day,
fried,
but
yeah.
I can't have like nigiri. Like if you just put raw fish over a thing of rice on me for me, bro, I can't. I'm not there, bro. I'm
I,
not there.
I
I think
love
what
it.
it is I owned food trailers here for a very long time in Austin that dealt primarily with seafood. I mean, like that was our thing was seafood.
Mm.
And I loved seafood. And then I opened up a food business that just did nothing but seafood for almost 10 years.
You were
And
traumatized.
while there are some things that I still love, like crab and shrimp, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, just the whole seafood thing kind of got tainted a little bit for me because I literally dealt with it for way too long, man. So,
I can understand that.
yeah.
I don't have any like particular foods that I'm like types of foods at least that I'm not massive on. But I've never been a big mushroom person. I just as a kid hated mushrooms. Grew up hated
Mushrooms is one of
mushrooms.
those for
Yeah,
a lot of people.
just not a big mushroom person. But that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a picky eater, so I'm like, all right,
I
I'll eat
got you.
whatever, man. But
Right.
my fiance and I love sushi, and he
All
took
right.
us to a fantastic sushi spot.
Love to hear it.
I was a little nervous
Sure.
because I was like, sushi in Texas? I don't know how I feel about that. And then I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. And we tried it because I mean we live right by the ocean, you know. So for
Yeah, yeah,
us,
you're
like
right there.
seafood is fresh. Like it
Right,
is
right.
fresh. We get
Right.
the good stuff here.
Mhm.
And I was blown away. Our spot was
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. But we
San Antonio is only a few hours from the coast here in Texas, so
oh okay. Yeah, we're like 10 minutes.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
But we drove from San Antonio up to Dallas, and we stopped at the Magnolia Silos because she loves watching Chip and Joe's. I believe it's Fixer Upper or
Okay.
the TLC show. So
Yeah, yeah.
that was really cool. We stopped there. They had Christmas lights going on, so that was a lot of fun. And then we
Mhm.
get to Dallas, and my friend had a wedding that was a Viking theme. And so they had a mead hall, and like
Oh my gosh.
we were
Yeah.
roasting like different kinds of meats over an open flame. We had like rabbit, chicken,
Damn.
tomahawk steak, some type of seafood. I can't remember what it was. But just a lot of really good stuff, and
Yeah.
just drank meat all night and had a really good time. So that was really
Can't
fun.
lose with that, man.
Yeah. And then we wake up, we're going to the airport, and I stop in Plano, Texas, or Plano, Texas, however
Plano.
it's Plano.
Plano.
I know people.
How dare you,
Yeah,
sir?
I know people give me. I'm like, I keep calling it Plano because I'm thinking of like Hispanic.
Land of
Yeah.
Wano.
Yeah,
It's the land of Plano.
exactly. But yeah, we stopped at the official card store, which was awesome. I got to pick up 6 packs of OP01. I got 2 hits, which was sick.
Let's go.
I ended up picking up a Rush Queen, which I was like, it's still a really cool card. I never pulled it.
Sure.
And then I also picked up the ulti that ramps you at dawn. So
Yeah.
that was
Nice.
also a really cool pull. So
Nice.
I was happy. All in all, it
Good.
was a fantastic trip. Texas
Awesome.
did us well, and now I'm back home, and it's colder here than it was in Texas. However,
Dude, it's
I felt freezing the night of the Viking wedding in Texas. It was like only 40 something, 50 something degrees,
yeah.
but my
Yeah.
toes were frozen. And I think it's because we were walking around like on the cold, damp ground, you know.
Yeah,
And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm probably just freezing
Well,
over here."
up there where you're at, you're used to like a certain level of humidity in the air, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So when it gets cold, there's still like that kind of humidity to it. Whereas like up in Dallas, the humidity is not nearly as bad as like like Houston in that area. So like I don't know, you get that dry cold that might be
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
It hits, dude. It hits.
Yeah,
for sure.
thankfully it wasn't super windy because otherwise I'd have been rough.
A little-
I'd have been
little
looking rough.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was like,
Right,
"Oh man,
right.
this is brutal." But
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're back home safe. I'm glad you had a good time. And now
Yeah.
the countdown begins to Nats, my friend.
yeah, the countdown to Nats is exciting. It's really cool to see a lot of the people not only in my Discord but on Twitter as well talking about their experiences at their local shops playing certain metas, different cards, different builds of decks and whatnot. Love to see it, and I think what's been really interesting is some of the lists I've been seeing that have been topping, not only in
Yeah.
Paris but in LA.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was I'm so in Paris. Let's just go over the winners real fast. So like in
Yeah.
Paris, the winner was Sakazuki. In LA, the LA. I don't know if you've ever watched oh my god, I'm gonna forget the name of it now. Letterkenny.
No.
Oh god, you got to watch it. But they have an episode where they make fun of what people in LA sound like.
Okay.
And he's like, they're always in LA.
LA.
But
I like LA, bro.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure people in LA don't sound like that, but I could be wrong.
I've only been once.
I've never been, so I'll be for
I've been
Nats.
one time. I got flown out for a cooking competition.
Ooh.
And I literally just ate and drank the entire time. I don't remember too much, if I'm being completely
Then
honest.
you're like, I'm out. Catch you later.
Bro, I literally just went to just consume alcohol and eat food, and I mission accomplished.
That's the best. That's the best time.
Yeah, exactly. It was a paid for trip and the whole nine. So
yeah,
it was good.
Well, in LA, Anel won. So Anel Yellow winning that tournament. I believe second place going to. Actually, I think second place ended up going to another Anel, but the finals was between Purple Luffy and Anel. But I guess just the way that the scoring and everything works, that second place ended up going to Anel. And now
Got you.
we also had the 3v3 event that happened, and the 3v3's winners were Nami, which was really cool. Nami, Sakazuki, and OP01, Trafalgar Law.
Interesting.
And I was like, wow, okay, that's a combination right there. That's pretty interesting.
That really is.
So I'd love to see that, there's definitely been some pretty cool variety in there. And a lot of the deck lists were really intriguing because I thought for sure that certain cards were like basically guaranteed either four ofs or like two ofs in the Sakazuki list. And then I see these lists that I'm like, they're running 3 blocker Borsalinos. I saw 3 lists like that. I was like, am I missing something? What in the world?
I mean, my deck has three Borsalinos as well.
I run 4 because I think the card is so good against a lot of the matchups as well as the mirror. But I see that they traded it out for space for other things. And like, for example, there was a list. Let's see, was this the Paris winners list? The Paris winner... no, it was not. It was actually, I think, a list that ended up getting 5th place in one of the tournaments. That he ended up swapping out one of the Borsalinos, and then I think it was like Ice Age or something like that, for the 9-cost Mihawk from OP01.
Yeah, there was 3 of them.
Three of them. There was 3 of those and 2 of the 7-cost Borsalinos.
I can be, it's not hard to talk me into the effectiveness of 9-drop Mihawk in that deck. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But 3 of them is where I was kind of like,
yo, like that's.
I mean,
that's whoa.
2 would be like, okay, like two's a lot. Two's healthy. 3 is like, brother.
Yeah, but he's cooking.
You're crazy.
Yeah,
you're crazy.
He's cooking. I mean, the guy killed it. I think he went like 8-1, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, and props to him. Well, that's the thing. And so, like, there was about a week and a half, 2 weeks before Set 5 drop, there was a lot of discussion in my local Discord about the strength of Sakazuki, because obviously we were seeing the Eastern meta doing really well with Sakazuki, and the word broken kind of gets thrown around kind of loosely, but there was discussion about, like, is Sakazuki broken, right? Like, is this just, like, is it too much? And they were pointing at cards like, like Rebecca, even like not Manchery is not the issue. I think a lot of people find, like, basically Rebecca and Hound Blaze just being like, bro, those cards are insane. Just like insanely strong cards. And, the point that I was saying was, like, the point that I was kind of going back and forth with is, like, it's not broken. Even if, like, they were talking about, well, they were already just having a discussion about, like, restricting Rebecca, all this, and it was just for fun. There wasn't like this. It was just an open discussion. It wasn't like anyone advocating for, like, restrictions on cards and so on and so forth. It was just an open discussion about what if they did this, what if they did that. And I was kind of going back and forth with them, and, like, the color combination, and I know we had Rebecca, but Rebecca, we can't, like, Rebecca's her own thing. Like, you can't really look at Rebecca and look at Sakazuki and say, like, that's black and blue. Like, they're 2 different things, apples to oranges almost in a lot of ways. But the color combination in which, and Rebecca has a lot of, like, leader locked stuff, right? So,
true.
the color combination between black and blue is just so good. It is so good. And so the argument that I was making with them is like, even if you do restrictions on these cards, there are cards that, yeah, they won't perform the same things, but there are just a lot of combinations you can do between black and blue cards that just would make Sakazuki really strong no matter what you did.
Absolutely.
Unless you just like completely handicap the deck, which then, whatever. But like
I almost don't think there's a way to.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like you would have to ban the leader.
It's very versatile.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And as someone who came from playing black and all of set 2 and set 3 and then going into blue, I can't tell you how many times, like as a blue player, I was like, bro, if I could just minus the cost just by 1, like I would win this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then set 5, we've got that. We've got the minusing cost to go with the bottom decking of blue and the bouncing and so on and so forth. So it's just like an inherently strong marriage between black and blue when it comes to Sakazuki. And I guess the bigger picture that I'm trying to paint is like when we see these different deck lists, like the Mihawks, and there's 3 instead of 4 Borsalinos. There's no Kuzans. There's no 4-drop Kuzans in some of these deck lists.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that Sakazuki is an incredibly flexible deck, and it almost feels like almost no matter what you plug in there, it's gonna do just fine.
Yeah, you can make it work.
Exactly, you can make it work, and that's the fun part about it. Is like I think Sakazuki's. I'm trying to think, but off the top of my head, Sakazuki feels like the most versatile leader to be able to play how you want to play, because you can literally plug this in, take this down, and you're still kind of accomplishing more or less the same thing, but you're just going about it in a different way. And I feel like Sakazuki as a leader allows just such a large field of variety between the black and blue cards to accomplish that it's an extremely fun deck to play. But it's even a more fun deck to like tailor the way that you finally feel like this is my build. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is how I like to play the deck, and these are the cards that I find play best for me. And so that's just really cool to see.
I agree. And I going to what you mentioned about some of the cards being too strong. I don't think that Rebecca is like broken in a sense that it performs too good of an action, but it is a very strong card.
Sure.
However, I actually, even as I will stand by Sakazuki being, not broken, but very strong and competitive leader that takes a lot of skill, a lot of piloting practice in order to understand your matchups and everything, right? There is one card, though, and it's not only in the Sakazuki list, but it's also and it's not this card. There's another card that's just like it that's also in yellow, but it's not as good. And I do think that Hound Blaze is a very, very strong card, almost to the degree of broken. And the reason why is because think about it this way: even if you don't get to perform the action of bottom decking a 2-cost or less card, right, which is already absurd. That's really good, right? You get to gain 3,000 power for 2 Dawn.
That just feels excessive.
That's already insanely good.
Excessive.
You're +1 Dawn already. Just from that.
Just from that.
So now you get to couple that with the fact that you get to bottom deck something that is wildly good, right?
Well, and that's the thing. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, so to finish that, right, yellow also has a very similar event, the 2 million volts Amaru, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so with yellow having that, the only thing is that yellow's card is a little less broken, like a little less. And the reason why is because it does have a restriction. You get the +3,000 for 2, which is already good enough. That's why people run it. It's already good enough just to run that as is. And then on top of that, you get to rest a 4-cost or less, but the restriction being that you have to be at 1 life or less. So it's like, okay, blue doesn't have that restriction. You need to, where it should perhaps be something like you get to bottom deck a card, but you have to be at 4 cards or less in hand or something.
Yellow has enough. Yellow
That's
has
true.
more than enough.
That's true.
Yellow has enough. We don't need to be bringing down black blue just to make our excuses for yellow having another broken card. Like we don't need to do that. We don't need to go there.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I just think like inherently when you look at 2 cards of similar
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
value, and then
yeah,
you realize that they're trying to do the same thing, and
yeah,
one kind of has a restriction but the other one doesn't.
yeah.
It is,
It's insane.
it,
Well,
if you're trying to have an equally balanced game, you know what I mean?
let me present,
Yeah.
yeah, and let me present this to you. It's like, and there's obviously like a lot with Sakazuki. You want to be playing bodies while simultaneously removing stuff off the board. But
Right.
think about what you're doing with one Ice Age and one Hound Blaze.
Yeah.
Like 3 Dawn to do what you're doing. 3 Dawn.
3 Dawn for plus 3,000 power
And the
and
bottom deck,
goodbye a 7 cost.
a 7 cost.
Catch you
for
later.
3 Dawn.
Yeah.
Absolute insanity.
It's pretty good.
Insanity.
It's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other part is like I was excuse me. I was a big believer. I actually ran Meteor Volcano for a good while in my smoker builds for set 2 and 3. I love
Dude,
Meteor Volcano.
Same.
Like that was a card that when I finally started seeing people play cards like the Great Eruption and Ice Age, I was like, finally the black event cards are like getting some like
Yeah.
recognition. Like, hey, these cards are
They ain't
actually
bad.
really good. Yeah, like holy crap. But Meteor Volcano was a card that I was a firm believer in. I loved Meteor Volcano. Like it just felt good when I was able to establish a 10-drop Kuzan, and then I was just popping things left and right
Yeah.
with the Meteor Volcano. And not only that, but it was a time in which Law and Zoro were very prevalent.
Yeah.
And for me to be able to pop these little 1-cost dinks with a Meteor Volcano, and the trigger was really nice. The trigger was more card draw for black, which is great. But when you look at Meteor Volcano, and granted one's black and one's blue, Meteor Volcano is a 2-cost, and all it does is KO a 1-cost or less.
Yeah.
Hound Blaze is a 2-cost that bottom decks a 2-cost and gives you plus 3k. So like it is insane. And the other X factor to this is we're talking about 2 different effects, right?
Yeah.
One is KO and one is bottom deck. And KO is
sorry,
very
but
strong effect. We all
Arguably,
know
bottom
that.
deck's the best. Like,
Well, there is not a single card in the whole set and the whole game that says you cannot bottom deck this card, right? There's not like wait.
7 cost Anel now is
Okay.
when the card would be removed from the
Removed
from
Okay,
the
so-
board.
but there's also a provision to that if Luffy's out there, that gets
Correct.
That's
Correct.
That's no longer so like.
Yeah.
All right, fair point. But I don't know if that quite does.
No,
does
yeah.
justice. But like, what all I'm trying to say is we've got Borsalinos, we've got Sabos, we've got Fukuros that all have the anti-KO effect, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
in that sense, you feel like okay, but bottom decking doesn't care about that, right? Bottom deck's like cool, dude. Wipe, just like you're gone.
Peace.
Whereas tucking a card, we refer to as tucking a card as bottom decking. There's no there's no defense to that. So the Hound Blaze is just like insane because there's not a card, I'll give you a Nelly and I'll give you a Nelly, but there's not a card in this game that can't get touched when it comes to that, right?
Yeah.
It's just insane the amount of value you're getting out of that card, and then you pair it with everything that's going on with Sakazuki and that card. The brand new search into Hound Blaze your next turn is it's just like it kind of feels like it's almost like the bread and butter opener.
It feels so good.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
and then you pray that you get
just
Hina into trash too. You're like, off that same search, you're like, I get to put Hina in trash.
Yeah,
What?
yeah, you're cooking. But like, to the point that you just made, and we had brought this up a little while ago when we were talking about, players or cards that got banned and restricted and so on and so forth, and we were talking about yellow, specifically Katakuri at the time. While Sokka is a very strong deck, like losing to Sakazuki is different than losing to NL or even like Katakuri, right? Because Sokka takes a lot of, for the most part. Yeah, there's some games where like the choices are a little bit more easier than others.
Yeah.
But you don't see the right cards, or like it gets a little weird in your sequencing, and next thing you know, you're like really having to think this thing through. And so and this point has been made a lot. To play Sokka as optimal as possible, it does take a lot of thought and a lot of like you just really gotta think your moves through a lot.
Yeah.
And so like
you have to do your
Sokka's a good,
reps
strong
and
deck.
the practice, man. It's just crazy.
100%. But like I don't feel bad. Like if you have a strong deck, but you're being rewarded for making the right decisions, cool.
Yeah.
Totally fine with that.
No.
I'm absolutely fine with
Yeah,
that.
that's how I
So
felt about Law. I felt like Law
yeah,
for
100%.
was the strongest, arguably like best well-rounded deck throughout
Hmm.
the meta for 4 sets.
Yeah.
And I didn't really normally feel that bad if I lost to Law. Not, normally, not always. There were sometimes I felt bad. I was like, really?
Yeah.
You have
There's
seen how many one-cost blockers, bro? Like,
right.
what?
And how many you saw 3 law, like you saw 3 blocker law? Like
Yeah,
what is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
going on here?
Like there was a high roll nature to that, but there is
Sure.
to any deck, to be honest.
Exactly.
But there is obviously higher high roll to
Yes.
certain lists, and then others are like, okay, it's there's definitely more skill, but there's there's always going to be that high roll nature. But
Yeah.
yeah, I never really felt too bad about a loss. Now, when I play against Sakazuki in like a mirror matchup, or I'm playing a different deck, if I
Hmm.
take that L, it's usually because they played exceptionally well.
Hmm.
They were able to, get me to a point where I was like, yeah, there's not really much I can do here.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't have, the ability to keep up this tempo, because that's really what it is Sakazuki's kind of like anti. It's what, like, more of its like solution is you have to play tempo, build a substantial board, whilst also removing your opponents. And because you don't have these massive swinging characters, other than
Hmm.
like if you get the 7 cost Borsellino down, but even still, then you can miss the card. It will, definitely depend on the situation whether that card's going to be reliable. It can be removed with a lot of other cards, for
Hmm.
different decks. And then
Hmm.
I think that L just feels so much better than if I'm playing like another deck and they just get some crazy trigger, or like
Trigger.
a massive top deck that just wins them the game, and I'm like, oh, or like a rush card from red or something. I'm like, really, dude?
Right. Yep.
Really? Like, that's how I got
Yep.
to take this L right now?
Yep. Yep.
So I enjoy
Yeah,
that.
and actually, to it's you were saying like really go wide, and I've found because like I've been the last few podcasts I've been mentioning Ace a lot. I've been talking about Ace. I've been saying I think Ace has a place in the meta and so on and so forth. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is, and I started playing a lot of Ace recently, and I'm having a blast.
Heck yeah.
So Ace is like the one counter to like Sakazuki where you don't really have to establish anything. You kind of just put pressure on them constantly, and rush cards have so much value right now. They have a tremendous amount of value, and they are incredibly strong cards. And so when I'm running, when I'm running 3 of the 5-drop Luffys, and I'm running 4 of the ace white character cards, the 7 cost,
Yeah.
and I'm getting that ability of the card off before, like, they're gonna have to respond and remove it. But cool, I've already swung 7K at you with the card.
It got
I've
its
already
value.
gotten, yeah, take the card. I don't care. Oh, you want to play Lucci? Here's a Flame Emperor for you, real quick. Or no, excuse me, Borsellino. Borsellino. You want to play Borsellino? Cool. Like, here's a Flame Emperor.
Member, yeah.
The Fire Fist absolutely eats up Rebecca and Hina. Just destroys that matchup. Like, Marco comes down and what can collapse a Rebecca blocker real quick. So like, I haven't really felt the need to, like, as an Ace player that's played a decent amount of Sakazuki already, it's been kind of like I'm like, the predator has now become the prey, where it's like, I'm going turn 2. If I roll, I'm going turn 2, and I'm gonna watch what you do, and now I'm gonna respond to you as opposed to you responding to me.
Yeah.
And that flip in the dynamic between the matchup feels really, really good. And you don't have to play character, like, yes, obviously you want to establish characters, but a lot of the characters that you're playing have an on-play effect, like the 5-drop Marco, where you're eating up a blocker or a brand new, or you're playing your rush cards, that your rush Luffy's and your rush aces, that you're getting the effect off on play. And so it doesn't, I won't say it doesn't matter, but the effectiveness of Sakazuki dramatically goes down when you've already gotten off what you've wanted to do with that card, as opposed to having a card sit there for a play, and now they're thinking, all right, well, now I get to remove this card, and you don't get any value out of it. So it's been nice.
Yeah, and I wish that you would not tell people how to beat my Sakazuki, okay? That would be great, all right? Just keep those notes to yourself.
Oh, my bad, my bad. You know what? I think what it is, I just I played Ace a while back, and I had a lot of fun
You know
with
I'm
it.
messing
And then
with
the
you.
restrictions came down. Yeah, yeah. The restrictions came down. I was like, all right, well, there goes Ace. But now that Ace is at full speed,
Yeah.
it's a 5 life red leader that has a lot of really good cards,
Oh yeah.
and it responds from my experience. I'm probably gonna take it to locals tonight. This will be my first locals for set 5 because I've just been so busy.
Oh,
But it just has
more or
it
less
is
same. Yeah.
yeah.
I got like a
Dude,
first
my deck
anniversary
is
events, but I'm finally my first like just December tournament.
yeah. No, same here, same here.
Yeah.
And but like that deck has extremely amount of versatility to it, and it responds very well to I feel like the current meta. So we're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna have some fun with Ace and
Heck
see how
yeah.
that goes.
I'm
Yeah,
excited to hear how it goes for you. You'll have to let me know. And
yeah, for sure.
speaking of other like red decks that have been making a splash, combination of like red and yellow is
Mhm,
Bello Betty. I
mhm,
have seen nothing but nonstop interest in this deck. I kid you not. I I post a few videos of Bello Betty matches, different
mhm.
matchups and stuff like that, and I get at least 2 comments, maybe even 3 per video, and like stuff on Twitter, people in my chat that are like,
Yeah,
"Dude, we love the Bello Betty content. Keep it coming." And I'm like, I'm not even playing Bello Betty. They're playing Bello Betty. I was like,
yeah,
I'm playing Sakazuki or like
yeah,
Purple Luffy or something,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh wow, there's like such an interest in this deck, but it's such a crazy. I love the deck, I really do. I also hate it, but
See, I'm not a big
it's
fan. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a big fan.
it's just glass cannon, bro. It's like
It
punch
is
you in the
quite
face and
literally
hope for the best.
quite literally, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Hail Mary deck. It's
Yeah,
literally a Hail Mary deck.
which I think is fun to a degree, but it's
Yeah,
also like once you've played against it, you kind of know how to not lose to it. But there are just
that's the
some
thing.
times where they just see it and you're like, damn, I can't. I just lose. Like there's no way to
Yeah, I
stop
don't know.
this.
Well, I guess I've been fortunate enough that I felt like I kind of learned pretty quickly against Bella Betty, and so
Yeah,
like I'll be honest with you, I have not run into a Bella Betty that has like it feels like if you know what's
you
coming,
can
you know
expect
what's
it.
like it's just like cool. I'm gonna set up some dinky blocks
Yeah.
and like it's just kind of GG's because they run out of gas
Hmm.
so fast
Yeah.
that if Bella Betty's not killing you by like turn 3 at most turn 4, you're just kind of like, all right, well I win,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's
GG.
game. Yeah, GG's, bro. Like, yeah, have fun. I think also is because I've been running so much Ace recently
Yeah.
that I literally just mulligan into a Fire Fist, and
And
I'm
then
like,
everything's gone.
yeah, they just disconnect. They're like, yeah, I'm out.
Yep.
They're
It was fun. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Y-
And
y-
so, I mean, I get the appeal that you kind of, I don't want to use this term because people that use Bella Betty, I'm not trying to take away from it, but it feels like you're trying to cheese a win, right? You're just kind of like,
It's
okay,
it's a
yeah,
yeah, it's a different style. It's very aggressive, but like you could just lose based off of your opponent's counter or
right,
blockers. Like if they play
exactly,
correctly around it, it's not that bad.
yeah,
Yeah, but you know what's an interesting card that I've seen? You know what's hilarious? Before we started this episode, a friend of mine, shout out to Kev, came over and he was like, "Hey, do you have any of this card from OP04? I can't seem to find it anywhere." I was like, "Yeah, I got like probably 50 of them just sitting around."
mhm,
Um, and the card was 3-cost Moscato. It is a yellow card that's trigger, play the card. You don't even have to trash a card from hand. It's 3 cost, 4K power, 1K
mhm,
counter, and it has Banish. I think it's Dawn X1, this character gains Banish, something like that, right?
okay,
And so it being a trigger card, it gets the ability from Bello Betty's leader.
sure,
Or the bonus from Bello Betty leader's ability and
right,
Banish. So he was like, "Yo, it's really good into the mirror matchup. It's solid into yellow." I was like, "Oh, this is really neat." Like I see a lot of people coming up with some really cool ideas, and
yeah,
there's also I don't know if you've seen it yet. This card looks so sick. I'm really excited for when it comes out. It's a promo card that is Sabo, and it's a Revolutionary Army that's also a 3 cost, 4K power, 1K counter. That
mhm,
is Dawn X1, if you have, I think it says 4 or less cards. It might say 3, but it's either 4 or 3 or less cards in your hand. Then the character gains plus 2,000 power, right?
Okay.
So Dawn X1 already brings it up to 5, and now
Right.
you're up to 7. A lot of the times with Bello Betty, you don't have more than 3 cards
No,
in hand,
no, you
3,
don't.
4 cards in hand. So
Right.
that I think the really interesting thing about that card is that, you know, it's searchable from Bello Betty. It is very playable because it's cheap. It's got a insane ability that combos well with your leader and is, you know, your deck as a whole. And I don't know, it was very cool. I was like, oh, I'd love to see some like, I hate that deck to a degree, but I also really like it and respect it. It's just, it does feel bad sometimes because it reminds me of playing against yellow with, even though they're red triggers that play the cards. It reminds me of playing against yellow because I'm just like, dude, you have like 5k bodies out of trigger every single turn. This is horrendous.
I
Like,
mean, and when you're playing against it, every time you swing into life, you're just holding your breath
Yeah.
the whole time.
Like, please.
You're just like, all right, well, what are we? What's
cooking
in the
today?
trigger today?
Yeah.
You know, like, come on. But you know, like it's fine. I think it's become. Well, we had a second. I believe in Eggman's tournament. Didn't second place was a
Second place was
Betty.
Bello Betty, and I think Bello Betty
Yeah.
had the win, and they messed up. If I remember correctly, they had the win and they messed up,
Okay.
and I was like,
Damn.
dang, dude, like,
Yeah, I got, you know, like I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I don't, you know,
Yeah.
like I don't want to speculate too much, but like part of me wonders like how much is that dude just saw everything all the time and
Yeah.
just like luck sacked his way. And I don't, again, like I use these terms and it's not to take away from anything that this person accomplished
yeah.
or the skill level of this person, but like when you play those kinds of decks, there's a certain
There's a way higher degree of luck. There's
yeah, 100%. And
Yeah.
so like I'm like, you know, I see that and I'm like, I am surprised, but at the same time, I'm not really putting all that much stock into it. I'm really not, to be honest with you. So
And you know, that was something that you and I discussed a little bit beforehand. You know, we barely touched the surface, but just the idea of you know, there's so many players that have been doing fairly well with yellow as of recent. And big congrats to Justin with his win for Enel. But this was a conversation that you and I had, but I also had like a little concern last night on stream. I was talking about how I was concerned about the future of the game with a lot of these really insanely powerful yellow trigger cards coming into the game. Constantly having a 5k body that gets to be cheated onto the board you know, practically for free is terrifying. And I think it puts me in this mindset of, you know, there is like a degree of skill that, you know, needs to be had in order to go 9-0. Like Justin can't have just gotten lucky 9 games in a row.
No,
the odds of that happening are insanely improbable, right? Like, so I would imagine that he probably had like 5 to 6 games that were like super hard fought, playing extremely tight. And then, you know, you have like those 3 games where everything just went your way, you know, and like that's just how it feels in those tournaments. Sometimes you have games where everything goes your way. And, you know, it's like if you end up seeing some of those triggers, like a Beji out of life, you know, last life, or like Sanji, or you end up, I think Amaru is the one that you can trash to and you get to heal 1 life. I mean, like stuff like that can completely change the tide of the game. And it's
100%.
It's hard to play around, you know, not only one incredible trigger, but like 8 different cards that you run in your deck that have incredible potential game-winning triggers. It's like, what? You know, you got to watch out for a heal, a forced stop attack, a block. Like, there's just a lot. And that's where it kind of gets a little almost outlandish sometimes, because you're like, Jesus, like, how do you, like you said, you got to hold your breath and hope, you know?
Yeah. Well, and to your point, it's like, you know, it'd be one thing if, like, you know, those trigger mechanics were all like pretty uniform. It's like, all right, you got Sanji and Brule that are blocks, and like a lot of times when you're playing against Katakuri and you see them put that, they tuck that that life card down to the bottom. Like for me, it's like, all right, that's a Brûlée, that's a Sanji, that's a Beige, right?
It's one of the yeah.
You kind of know those things pretty much, but like it's the difference in dynamic where it could be a Thunderbolt, it could be this, it could be that.
Yeah.
And it's like you can do everything in your mind to like play the game quote unquote correctly, right? Like I'm playing around this trigger, I'm doing my best, but it wasn't that trigger. You know, it was a Thunderbolt instead of a Brûlée. So now I don't have this swing. It's just like it feels like it's just a guessing game no matter what it is you do to try and win the game. And if you just like even if you do everything right, you can still just get punished so hard that it just doesn't, you know, I don't want to use the word unfair because that's me being dramatic, but it just feels discouraging. You're just like, dude,
the losses feel horrific.
They feel terrible.
They feel horrific, man. If you
100%.
played like the tightest game, you were doing extremely well. You might not have seen every card that you needed, but you were still playing the better match. You can just lose the game to one single card
well,
out of
like,
life, and you're like, what? Like what? How do I justify like how do I justify this feeling? Because it's just terrible, you know. And and that was a big reason why I stopped playing Yellow. Actually, was I played against a guy that it felt bad winning. Like
100%.
I got the absolute nuts out of life back in set 3 and saw the craziest triggers, and he didn't see anything, and it was just like it was a steamroll, and I felt like. And he just looked at me and he was like, I mean, good game, I guess. Like, you know, there's not much I can do about 4 triggers, 4 of the 5 life being triggers and then 2 10 moms. And I was like,
like,
I didn't feel
like
I felt terrible.
And you feel like you're a grown man that just told a 3-year-old that Santa Claus doesn't exist.
I know.
Type feeling. You're just like, wow, I feel like I played Katakuri one time.
Yeah.
I played it one time at my locals and I'm like, I'm never doing this again.
I don't know.
Like I can't do it. And I get it's, you know, like
there's some satisfaction
like,
like when you get a good trigger, you're like, hell yeah, dude. But like at the end of the game when, you know, they're like, wow, all right, good game, I guess, you know, or like what, and you're like, dang, it doesn't feel like I beat him. It felt like my triggers beat him.
I will say this, that, you know, usually when you GG someone at the end of a match, it's like, hey, that was a good match. I can't tell you how many. I'm not. All right, maybe I'm being exaggerated. I've had more Katakuri players apologize than any other
so
color
true.
and any other leader in my life. They're like, I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I can't tell you how many different Katakuris. I don't think I've really experienced that with any other leader.
Oh,
other
so
than
true.
Katakuri, where we'll end the game and they've dropped like 2 or 3 big drop moms and they're just like, sorry, bro. Like, you know, it's like, we both know. We both know, my friend. You're not fooling anyone. We both know.
That's hilarious because I never really thought about it like that, but it's like the apologetic deck.
It is
like,
100%.
Like, yeah, I'm sorry, man. Like, just saw really
it's
good.
One of those. Don't blame me. Blame Bandai. You know, I'm just playing the cards that Bandai made.
Which is super fair. You know, they're playing the cards that are part of the game. It's just oh god, it's annoying. You know, it's annoying color.
It is. And you and I were having this briefly talking on it about the NL winning, and it's like, you know, with all the beautiful things that One Piece has going on within this TCG, there's a lot of, and we're at a year, and like we're finally at a year where it's like we're 5 sets in, and there's, like you were saying not long ago, there's a lot of different cards that are getting plugged into different leaders, and we're seeing a lot of variety because finally now we have 5 sets worth of card pool to draw from. And so now we have that expression of creativity a lot more than we did 4, 5, 6 months ago, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more expression of creativity. Like when Smoker first came out, Smoker builds were
uniform
because we only had this many black cards. And, you know, like I think that was kind of to be expected because, again, the card pool wasn't that large. But now we're at a much larger card pool. There's a lot more creativity coming in. And so you love to see like all this creativity, all these different ways of being able to play these different leaders. So there's a lot, but then you come to like Yellow and you're just like, and Yellow wins like a major regional. And again, like I don't want to, I feel I'm being the apologetic one right now because I don't
I think we both are.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to misconstrue this as me being like
We don't hate the
salty
players.
or
We just hate the color. All right. We are firm yellow haters.
yeah. You know what? At this point, if this is the hill that I die
We
on,
gonna die on this hill.
I'm dying on it. So be it. But like, like to see NL win a regional, it's fine. It is what it is. But like, I'm trying to take a step back and trying to be like, as someone who wants to bring in new people into this game, and I want people to like really enjoy it and really have a fun time.
Ooh, I have a counterpoint, but continue.
Okay, yeah. And then you see like NL win, and you see Katakuri's just going Katasinoing their way into wins. And like, it's tough for me as someone who's trying to advocate very strong about like, dude, this TCG is amazing, da 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 da. And then someone comes up and then they play their first local and then they DM me and like, bro, you didn't tell me about Katakuri. Or like, they watch the regional, the way that Anel wins the regional, and they're like, explain to me why this is a thing. And I'm like, brother, I don't have the answers.
We don't know,
We don't know. I don't know. And again, like I say this all just like, tongue in cheek, and like I'm having fun, and like I am never gonna I'm gonna complain about yellow for a while, but I'm never gonna be that guy who takes it too far where I'm like, like yellow needs to be restricted and banned and da da da. Actually, maybe 10 drop mom, but that's for a different discussion. But again, like I accept it as part of the game. I accepted that the mechanics of yellow, it is what it is. But it's just tough to want to get new people into the game, and they see things like that and they're like, well, that doesn't feel very fair. I'm like,
it's pretty good. Pretty good.
No, they can do some things that do kind of feel a little unfair at times. I get
God,
it.
and wait till starter deck 13. Holy, and OP06. Oh my God, dude, starter deck 13. I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a 1 cost, or maybe it's a 2. It's a 1 or 2 cost card that you can play it, and you get to pick up your life, look at your life, and reorganize them in any order you want.
Oh my God. What is happening? What is happening? Even if they didn't come out with any new yellow cards, and that was only the new yellow card that they printed in the upcoming,
yellow would get the massive buff. Biggest buff
just
ever.
By that one single card. With all the cards they have now, just that one card completely changes things.
And then Nami being able to give any single card banish, any card, doesn't matter.
Card.
And on trigger, it's Thunderbolt. It gets to kill a 5 cost or less.
A 5 cost. Insanity. That's
pretty good.
Oh,
it's pretty good.
I'm just
but my counterpoint, by the way, I wanted to make this very quickly, was that actually, funny enough, whenever people are getting into the game and they want to learn how to play the game, or they were like, hey, what is this that you're playing? I want to try it out. I actually recommend yellow.
Really?
I do.
Go the complete opposite. Yeah. I go the complete opposite.
No, the reason why I do is because it's, when I first played it, right, it was actually really fun, right? So what I tell them is like, hey, because it's like, oh man, like I just feel like I'm getting so much value for like so little. It's like I'm just getting a lot, right?
Sure.
So I actually tell people, I'm like, try yellow, because it when you're playing a lot of games and you lose a lot of games, it's very discouraging. And yellow can make up for misplays or mistakes.
100%, yeah.
With those trigger cards. Like if you make a mistake, you might just get a card that like totally saves you on that, and you're like, oh man, that's great. I needed that. Thank you.
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm gravy, baby. We're chilling.
Yeah, we're good.
And then so I actually tell them that not because I want to promote them to play yellow for the entirety of the game. I want them to have at least like an experience of a strong color that can get wins. It can help you make up for mistakes, and really has, as we unfortunately have to see right now, a bright future.
Yeah, and you know what? From that vantage point, I completely understand. Like if you're new to the game and you don't want to get discouraged, you want to be able to win pretty quick, and like not just take your lumps. I think it's good for that. However, the reason why I don't feel like yellow, aside of Yamato, I think Yamato's the worker man's yellow.
That's the worker man's yellow.
Yeah, exactly. That's the blue collar yellow leader right there. I played Yamato for like a good 3 weeks at locals, and I was like, you know what? I'm I'm gonna play yellow, but we're this is my brown bag sack lunch yellow leader right here.
Yeah.
you know. But the problem I have with Katakuri is and Enel is like I don't feel like it's a good way to build your fundamentals for learning this
That's
game.
fair. That's fair.
And I don't feel like that's gonna give you like if you start with Katakuri and then you try to go to another deck,
That's
I
fair.
feel like Katakuri misconstrues what it is to play the game on a more fundamental level. And so I like to like Zoro, like Zoro's the go-to. Like, hey, if you want to learn the game, Zoro's like still strong leader ability, has like the good fundamental approach towards learning like swinging this and swinging that and when to counter. Whereas like for the very reasons that you mentioned, like Katakuri can clean up those mistakes. You know what I mean by like something out of trigger or whatnot. Like I feel like for a beginner, you need to get those lumps to learn. Okay, that wasn't the right play, because with Katakuri, it just sweeps all that stuff up, right?
Yeah.
It'll mop all that stuff up. So from your vantage point in terms of, hey, if you want to pick up a deck that's relatively easy to play, that can get you that can snag you some wins, that you can have, fun with, Katakuri is a perfect deck. But I don't like, learning the game from a fundamental standpoint. I don't feel like Katakuri really offers that, if I'm being completely honest.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Now that you bring that up, that's a really good point, because transitioning from that to another list that could be pretty strong in the meta, not only for OP05 but potentially OP06, is going to look drastically different.
Ian, you're corrupting the youth by this.
That's fair. It's super fair. You know what? You know what's wild though is like, after this, I'll have to send you this video. Is you know what? Let's break into a segment about the future of the game, right? So since we've been talking about like, yellow and some of the current metas like Sakazuki as well as purple Luffy, the future of the game is really interesting as well, because we do see in OP06, at least from what I've seen watching some of the championship games in Japan and Singapore and other places, it really does feel like yellow is going down a very weird path. It's and with Yamato being introduced, like I said, I'm gonna have to send you this afterwards. That it feels as though Yamato is about as straightforward and as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
You attach all Dawn to leader, swing.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get double attack. Right.
Right.
Best play. Turn 3. You have 6 Dawn. You play Nami for 2 Dawn, right? Nami gives leader banish. You now have double attack and banish. You use leader effect to get 2 rested Dawn attached to leader. You are now an 11k double attack banish on turn 3.
Well,
that is horrific. That's what the players did that were in the fun. Well, I don't know if he was in the finals, but like they were in like the semifinals or whatever. And I was like, he hasn't played a card other than Nami.
Yeah.
He just plays Nami, attaches, banish, plays Nami, attaches, banish, like puts 2 rested Dawn, maybe even on the Nami now, his other Nami, because it's a 3k attack, and now you have a 5k. It's like, it's so good.
It is. So, but, like the easy response to that, and something that I don't know if you've noticed on the market too, the cheap blockers, the little dink blockers are like the Don Quixote Rosinante, is it Rosinante, that is the set 2 box topper blocker? For black. If you've looked at the market on those are now like a $10 card.
Oh yeah.
So like these little dink blockers are, I mean, people are preparing like, all right, well you can swing 11, but cool, my chopper. My Rosinante, like swing into that all day, have fun.
Right.
And then with such a minimal commitment of Dawn to block that attack, now I've got all the rest of this Dawn to do something else with. So
it's just unfortunate when you think about it, because you now have to play around that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you start teching in other cards like Amaru, where you're gaining another plus 3k and resting. You're putting down there's I can't remember what it is, but there's a yellow card in OP06 that's like on play rest a card. There's also like the KO factor in there, just being able to KO stuff. Just swinging like 7 with your leader, non-banish. is
Yeah.
already probably forcing a block. Then you're playing Nami and attacking with something else for. I mean,
Well, then,
it gets to a very weird point where you're now having to put these cards in your deck strictly just to play around
yeah,
one deck,
that's
or
fair.
one color, and it's like that is unfortunate.
That's fair. That's fair. I think, and then you've also got the Hody Jones, that rush that when it comes down, I think it rests any two cards. Doesn't even have. I don't think it's even cost specified. It literally
I don't
comes
know if
down.
it has cost specifications, but I know that you have to like take a life. It's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you play it, take a life, and then it gains rush. But yeah, it does rest something. I don't remember what
It
the.
rests two cards, two of your two character cards, which it's like, all right, so I've set up shop with my blockers. I'm good.
It's pretty
Here
good.
comes Hody Jones that says, "Nah, you're not good, bro. You're not good." It's almost like it's almost like a
Chill.
Douglas. It's like a better Douglas bullet, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, like you're not minusing Dawn. You don't have to wait the next turn for the rush ability. Like, like it's just
Yeah.
it's nasty. It's
Yeah.
it's gross. But like I will say this, like as much as we look into the future and we've always like I can't tell you how many times I remember when I saw that Flame Emperor came out and when I saw that Flame Emperor was revealed, I was like, there's no way they made this card, right? And it's still a very good card. It's still a very good card. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no
yeah.
there's no denying that. But I was like, what is Bandai doing? Like, how could they make this card? And then like once you kind of catch up with to the rest of the cards and the rest of the meta,
You're like, oh, it
you're like,
costs 7. It's not.
yeah,
It's
yeah. So
okay.
like
Like it's good.
exactly. So
Yeah.
like props to Bandai for like, yeah, we look into the future and we see these cards, and it's not to say they won't be powerful cards.
Mhm.
Undoubtedly they will. Like there's no really kind of ifs, ands, or buts about that. However, Bandai has done a really good job of like evening the playing field as they
As of
make these
recent,
cards.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like the power creep, generally speaking, feels like, yeah, these cards are pretty broken, but you know what? You've got these other cards that actually are pretty damn good themselves. So like,
Yeah.
it's been like props to Bandai for that, except for all this yellow nonsense. Like, what are we doing with yellow? What are we doing, Bandai? What are we doing? It's funny. Yellow has become the new red, right? Like it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
new red. Where we're
Everyone
just
hating
like,
on yellow now.
well, yeah. How many
Yeah.
sets are you going to continue just to give them like the
Yeah.
cream of the crop? Like you're giving them all the just insane cards.
Oh man, we were looking at it on stream last night, just some of the OP06 cards. And somebody had mentioned that, well, black's really crazy. Like black's the really crazy one. And I'm like, well, I was like, they were talking about Gecko Moria's effect as a whole. I was like, well,
Yeah.
Gecko Moria's effect is very similar to like Don Quixote do Flamingo from OP01, right?
Mhm.
The only difference realistically is that you're pulling from trash, right? So you can set up that trash by countering or trashing cards via other methods and ways, right?
Mhm.
The tough part is that, well, they were like, well, it's super good. You can play with like every card in your deck. And I'm like, yeah, but you're limited to 11. We looked it up. It was 11 cards that have that
Yeah.
archetype. I was like, so
They're locked.
we have 11 cards that have
Yeah.
that archetype. I was like,
Right.
the vast majority of, other cards, like using yellow as the example previously,
Right.
is it doesn't, like, for example, the triggers aren't relevant to archetype.
No, not
It's
at
not
all.
like KO something that also has Big Mom Pirates or KO
Right.
something
Exactly.
or trash
Exactly.
a Big Mom Pirates in order to play this. No,
Yes.
trash any card,
Yes.
kill anything,
Right.
heal whatever, right? And
Right.
it's like that's a really really good thing. And then they came out with a few new ones in yellow that I think they were trying to get away from the idea of cards being playable onto the field and more just having triggers that do something, right?
Sure.
And so that's where they were coming with Nami. But they also have this one Okiku, which is a 4-cost 6k vanilla, or not vanilla, 4-cost 6k with no counter, right? And I don't remember its on-play effect off the top of my head at the moment, but its trigger is if you are at 3 or less life, you can take the top card of your deck and put it on top of your life. So you can trash the Yamato and then heal one. So it's essentially like it's a no-brainer to have it in the deck because
Right.
it's a Land of Wano for for Yamato, so that's searchable by Momo. But
Right.
also simultaneously just being able to heal like for free Basically,
That's
for
the thing.
free.
It's for free. Like at least like you got like
you have a 4
you
life
got,
leader.
yeah, you got
You're
the
3 life off the first hit, bro.
right.
Like what?
That's
Wait a minute.
man.
It's really
Well, you know
really
what?
good.
Let's
You know,
Bandai, please print more banish cards for a lot of different colors.
dude, we literally mentioned that last night.
Please.
I said banish card. There needs to be like a double
Dude,
attack banish card
the
in every set.
The irony of Yamato actually having a double attack banish is actually hilarious.
Yeah,
Like the character that the irony of that is actually hilarious, to be honest with you.
Oh,
Like the
100%.
yeah.
I was like,
But
really?
yeah,
They're gonna put the leader
Yeah.
as the color of the card that already has the double
that
attack.
already honestly, just insane.
It's really
just
good.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Yellow's just gonna do yellow things. I don't
It
know
is.
how else to put it. It's
It
just
is.
one of those things.
Yeah.
They're gonna do what they want to do. The thing is like I just need Bandai to make good responses to it. And to be fair, Yellow has not run the table. You know, like
No.
even you know, like we have not seen.
I don't think I
know
don't
we're
think
going forward, but
Yellow's
just real
the,
quick,
or I just don't think Yellow's that strong. I think that
It's not.
Yellow's
It's not.
like it's really situationally lucky, or
Yeah.
it's like Ten Mom's really good, but you know,
Yeah.
if you get either a great start with your triggers
Mhm.
that gives you pretty much the entire game to do whatever you want, or if you get a great ending with your triggers, you just can potentially win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just sums it up right there.
Yeah.
That just kind of feels like Yellow in a nutshell.
It's
for
not
sure.
consistent, but the inconsistency is like extremely volatile. Like the inconsistency is like what makes that deck shine. Is
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way, but I was like, it's
No, no,
not.
no, no.
It really isn't.
No, it's because actually I was
Yeah.
gonna rewind a little bit and kind of like I wanted to, because this was something that I kind of found interesting. If we could just rewind into the regional that we just saw this last weekend in terms
Yeah.
of like what we saw for the leader breakdown.
Yeah.
And you know, Yellow NL was the leader of Yellow, but Katakuri was 73 entries, and then Katakuri was 62. And they both had good representation. They both had like good representation.
Yeah.
Within the like the top 32. So you know, like they're still gonna do their thing. I really wanted to say this because I wanted to harp on something that kind of blew my mind. You had Sakazuki with 131, Monkey D. Luffy, the new starter deck, Monkey D. Luffy, which I feel like we haven't really discussed, but the 10 drop secret Luffy just completely changed that deck 100%.
Wait, are you talking about red purple Luffy or
Red purple Luffy.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry, yeah. I know that there's actually 2 starter deck Luffy, so apologies. Yes.
No, that
the red purple Luffy.
that is
Good.
That is good stuff.
That deck is scary. That
Yeah.
deck is scary, man.
Oh yeah.
So not surprising to see second highest amount of entrants in that, and then followed by NL Katakuri.
Then the starter
and then,
deck.
yeah, and then oh wait, I'm screwing this up.
Oh,
I
you were
totally screwed this
backwards.
up. My
Yeah.
apologies. 85 is the set 5 with Monkey D. Luffy, the
Purple
purple
Luffy.
Luffy.
Yeah.
My apologies. We haven't discussed that one as much. And then we had starter deck Luffy with 35. The purple Luffy is just when that purple Luffy hits everything on curve.
Oh man, dude, scary, bro.
Scary.
Super scary.
You and I both kind of left the last podcast on what is Newgate going to do. Does Newgate have a place in this meta? And Newgate was at 21 people with Newgate, apparently.
Yeah, I think one of them topped though, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not surprised. I mean, but it doesn't quite feel like
Yes,
Newgate
one of them
is-
14th place.
Okay. It doesn't quite feel like Newgate really has too much of a spot, to be honest with you.
Dude, it's
So
got
far.
answers.
It does.
Got
Newgate's
answers.
going to do Newgate things, but like
Mhm.
it, you know, for this being the first regional, it didn't really. It's not the white beard that we knew, right? It's a totally different era for that deck.
Well, I think that deck it had its time. And the reason why it's not per se, I would say like maybe not as good in the meta anymore is simply because there are cards to answer a lot of the problems that you had,
Mhm.
and to be able to play down blockers, but also a lot of removal that gets rid of pretty much all the cards that you're trying to play down as Newgate is very troublesome.
Yeah.
The buff being the 9 cost Newgate being added back and unrestricted.
Right.
However, I feel like starter deck 10 Luffy, more or
Yes, that was
less,
a yes.
is the like, I don't know if
That's
I would say
exact.
the upgrade, but it's almost
It,
like the better option for at least
that's
the
what
current
exactly what I
meta.
was going to go into. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. I feel like if you were a Newgate player and you saw what Newgate's trying to accomplish and what Red
Yeah.
Purple Luffy's trying to accomplish, a lot of people would migrate over to
Mhm.
the Red Purple Luffy because it kind of achieves the same thing. You're just trying to bulldoze your opponent, right? You're just
Yeah.
trying to bully the hell out of your opponent with these with just constant pressure and big cards. But that 10 drop Luffy, the secret Luffy, just completely changed the appearance of that red purple
Oh
Luffy
man.
leader.
That that
That
that,
card is
that card is sick.
yeah. If you're not planning ahead of time for that Luffy to come down, you're just gonna lose the game.
Yeah.
And if you don't, if you don't have the cards to make to respond to that turn where they play, they swing other characters,
Play
they
it
drop,
7K, 10K,
they
and then
ramp,
12K.
like,
Yeah.
and then they come back at you. If you're not set up, you just lose the game,
Mhm.
is what it feels like. And what's really nasty is that teching in of the Diable Jambe, where you're just like, oh,
Oh man.
even if I have my blockers that I feel like are gonna eat those 12K swings from the character Luffy,
There's still a
it's just
chance that you
John.
lose. Yeah.
Yeah, Jambe just comes along and says, "Oh yeah, well I'm slamming the rest of my Dawn onto leader and Jambe and have fun," or vice versa. But it's
Right.
just that deck is really cool. But I want to hit on this, and this is kind of like something that makes me sad. Where is my red purple law representation, people? Where is my red purple law? Come on, there. I'm not seeing. I want to see how many red purple laws were there, but like
It says
there is.
59 other.
Yeah, exactly. Like that is a deck, and I get that it takes a little bit. It's an awkward deck to play at times
Mm.
because of the sequencing, and I will say Red Purple Luffy does not feel good at all playing as Red Purple Law. Like you really gotta play it like crisp as can be to have a chance against Red Purple Luffy. But damn it, people, what is it gonna take for me to like make y'all believers of this Red Purple Law build? Like I don't know, it's a lot of fun. That is what really caught me off guard. If I'm being honest with you, like I really felt like some people, I guess what it is, and I guess now that I'm kind of saying this out loud, is if you're gonna take the thought processes of Red Purple Law, you might as well just be playing Sakazuki, right? Like
Yeah.
like you might it's kind of the same feel, the removal and so forth, and like like Red Purple Law is not this like generic play curve swing kind of thing,
Right.
and so like if you're gonna take the time to really sequence and play, really think things through, I think a lot of people are just gonna be like, you know what, I'm just gonna pick up Sakazuki because it's a better deck. And you know what, I can't say I blame him, but I'm just kind of surprised. I'm a little surprised that Red Purple Law is not getting the love that I thought, the representation that I thought it would, to be honest with you.
I think Red Purple Law is, it's almost like when I was talking about Bello Betty, that I don't think, I'm not comparing the decks, by the way. I'm comparing the idea of playing against it. Is that
Hmm.
I feel like Red Purple Law only has more or less a few tricks up its bag.
Hmm.
It doesn't have, like, I don't know, it just doesn't have a ton that I'm super scared of. Like I expect things to happen and I
Sure.
go, okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. If that happens, whatever. If it doesn't get removed, sick. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, since once you play the matchup enough, like the in and outs of like those tricks,
Hmm.
you kind of just start to go, okay, all right, this is what I need to
That's fair.
do. It doesn't feel like it's that bad anymore. But
That's fair.
I've definitely seen some curves of Red Purple Law where I'm like, holy man, like
Yeah.
how do I beat that? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think yet again, I think that can be boiled down to almost every list is like there's just this god hand that you can have, a god
Yeah.
curve, and if you just
Yeah.
are able to get that, I mean, what do you do? You just
Yeah.
lose.
And I think part of me, the reason why I was holding out such optimism too, is because the blocker kid like completely felt like it changed the dynamic of that deck. It kind of it minus the cost of your leader ability while also setting something active,
Hmm.
a leader or a Dawn active, and it just felt like when I was playtesting that with the blocker kid, it just felt like an entirely different deck that the 4.5 build was a little kind of awkward, and it just like you felt like you were just you were short. You were just coming up short, and I feel like the blocker kid helped alleviate a good amount of that.
Mm.
The Zoro Juro, I think, it's not. I'm still back and forth on that card within the deck, but a lot of people like that card, and for good reason in that
Yeah.
build, and that kind of helps alleviate the leader
I think
ability
that
cards.
card's sick.
Yeah, I could go into a whole argument why I don't have it in my deck right now, but I can save that for a different time. But again, like the thing is, like if you have it in your build, I understand. Like you don't. There's no having to convince me of its effectiveness and so on and so forth. I just like to play other cards that I feel like I'm getting more out of. But
Makes sense.
so I was surprised. I was surprised that once these purple cards in set 5 came along, that really I felt like would accelerate that deck into a better position. That is just it doesn't so far it has not gained any momentum, and for the reasons that you mentioned, like it's you can anticipate. I'm
not saying it's predictable, but there is only so much that the deck can do at the time right now.
Yeah,
like in future, who knows? But for now,
And I will say, like what really hurts too is when I play my 5 Dawn blocker, which eats up a lot of my turn, because I'm not working with that much Dawn. I play that 5 blocker kid, and they just like immediately get rid of it. I'm like, that feels terrible. That feels so bad, because that dynamic that I was referring to, when you actually are able to use your leader ability and it triggers the kid ability. Dude, that's money. You're just like, oh, now I'm cooking. Now I'm cooking.
Yeah.
And then someone comes along and they literally just cut off your heat. They cut off your flame, and you're just like, yeah, I'm not cooking no more, bro.
No. We're all out, fresh out of food.
Fresh out. Yep, exactly. So
yeah,
I was surprised about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that at the end of the day, I'm not like super shocked as looking at the top 16s of each of these, each of these tournaments. It's primarily Sakazuki, Enel, Purple Luffy, Red Purple Luffy, stuff like that. And it doesn't shock me too much. I guess at the end of the day, though, what I am like a tiny bit surprised about is that Purple Luffy, I feel, is a deck that I have yet to figure out. Like I know how to play the deck. I just don't know how to play the deck and not lose sometimes. It feels like maybe me personally, I'm choosing the wrong times to take life, to use the leader effect. But that is such a strong deck. Like I genuinely feel like if you play that correctly, it's so hard to lose sometimes, because that deck is a monster on curve. And
I completely agree.
Yeah, and I've loved watching some of the games that some of these guys were playing.
Yeah, I've had it a couple times now where they've played back-to-back Magellans on me, and I'm just like,
damn,
you got it, bro. Like, you saw the back to it's been a while since I got a taste of what it felt like to be like double Magellan drop, back-to-back turns. It'd been a while since I felt that.
Yeah.
And now that Purple Luffy's in the picture, and when that happens, you just feel like, well, I've just lost. And not only that, but they've got the they're minusing Dawn obviously, but the ulti into page 1. I've seen a couple scenarios in which they've played back-to-back turns with the ulti in page 1, and you've got like 2 5Ks, 2 6Ks, and leader, and you're just like, all right, I don't have the response to this.
It's the most brutal start to a game playing against a page ulti, or a page 1 ulti combo. Because if they do that, it's like, it's just so much to remove as Sakazuki. It's really bad for Enel, because you're like, everything just swings into my board. It swings into my leader. Like, this is not where I wanted to be. That combo is fantastic for that 100%. Turn 2 play. And it terrifies me, because I'm like, oh no, if they see this, I'm like, I gotta have Greater Eruption and Hound Blaze, or I gotta have like Greater Eruption Rob Lucci to only get rid of one of them. And
I think honestly, like, the goal at that point is like, you just accept the fact that if you can get rid of one of those cards, ideally the page 1, because it's 6K, like that's kind of the target, right? If you can get rid of at least one of those, you can kind of be like, I'm not in a great spot, but okay, like, like,
I'll live.
there's hope. There's hope, right? That was actually like I'm not trying to make everything red purple law, but that was actually my biggest. That's been my biggest fight with that build is like to include that duo between because that's another one that on turn two, the turn two for red purple law. If you could play ulti into page one, you know you're minusing a lot of Don, but then you play Sashi and Penguin and you're right back up to 2 Don.
True.
You've literally played 2 5Ks and a 6K character on turn 2, and you're still at 2 Don. It's just like, shoo,
That's pretty good.
well, and then you factor in the counter that those cards have. Ulti's is a 2K, and then page 1 is a 1K.
Yeah.
So you've got 12K counter between those 8 cards. That's insane, man. That's just great value. So
cannot complain.
Yep.
But I believe that this is where we're going to be wrapping it up, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that the next episode will more than likely, I think we'll probably be end up doing it like after New Year's. I would imagine we'll end up talking about our predictions for nationals, some of the potential events that will be going on. I know that there's some content creators that are going to be having some tournaments, so
yeah.
Big shout out to them, and I'm gonna have to see if I can find a few of those to get into myself because I think that would be a lot of fun.
You know what? I think we've talked about it long enough now, Ian.
Yeah, you and I should do one.
You and I gotta 100% that. Absolutely, absolutely, we should do that. And I've actually got some ideas that you and I can discuss. However, you and I got to do the streaming of the webcam games, my friend. We gotta.
True.
Get some, yeah,
we gotta have a full-on practice stream. Yeah. That'd be fun.
And like I literally sat down. I was actually watching your stream last night. Shout out Luffy TV, Ian the goat. I was literally building. I've been so busy here recently. I was not. I didn't have any current set 5 decks. Like I had some cores built out, but I didn't actually sit down and finally just build out up-to-date deck. And last night I built out all 3. I'm running my red purple law, my Sakazuki, my ace. Those are the 3 that I have, and so I need to start rotating in and getting my reps in with them. So let's make that happen, dude.
Dude, that would be a blast. I got to get some. Yeah. I got to build my 2 or 3 other ones that I want to as well. I literally only have Sakazuki built at the moment. I just haven't. Hey. I haven't taken the time to just put some cards in sleeves.
If you're gonna build a deck, you can't go wrong with that one. So
that's
you might
true.
As well.
It's true. Yeah, that's my bread and butter.
Well.
So,
and as much as what we can kind of we'll wrap things up. But I will say this: as much as I was kind of giving Bello Betty a grief and whatnot, Bello Betty is an insanely affordable deck to build out right now.
Super affordable. Yes.
Insanely affordable. The crackers are kind of climbing up there a little bit. I want to say they're like a $9 or $10 card right now. However, for people that are just getting involved and with the crazy market that we've seen as of recent, how expensive cards can get, Bello Betty's really, really, really beginner friendly from the sense of an affordability standpoint.
Agreed.
So build that deck, people, and go have fun, and just hope you don't run into me.
Maybe that's why it's so popular, is because of the affordability. It's
know what, I wouldn't be surprised because when you look at some of the purple decks that are requiring Queen, like Queen immediately just takes people out of the picture.
Deflates the tires,
Yeah, exactly. It's just what else is there? Like, what are my other options?
Oh,
Katakuri. The Katakuri is the secret Katakuri takes people out of yellow. It's tough. We're kind of reaching a point where it's like we gotta make some adjustments to this.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way, because it's getting to be too much.
Dude, the guy that won Eggman's tournament was running 2 blocker Jimbeis from OP05 because he didn't have queens. He only had 2 queens. And he was like, by the way, I hope that you know that this deck list is not supposed to have these blocker Jimbeis in here.
This is not some spicy tech. This is not spicy tech.
He was like, this is supposed to be queen.
All right.
I was
one last thing, because
that's hilarious.
This completely reminds me of this. There was a GARP a while back that got top 64 or something. Like it might have even been top 32.
I feel like I remember that. Yeah.
He literally had one ofs. Literally ones and 2 ofs, literally 3 or 4 different, 4 or 5 different cards that were ones and 2 ofs.
Yeah.
And so everyone wanted to see the GARP build, right? Everyone was like, oh my gosh, you top 32 with GARP. How did you do this? Everyone was like, what, let us in on it. And so when I saw the deck list, and then he finally gets interviewed, and he was like, "Oh no, I literally just couldn't afford those other cards, so I just literally put a card in there." And like, I'm just like, brother, like yeah, you are goated for that. You are at like there was no like we were all just like waiting for the reveal to hear all the spice and like you play this,
play one of this.
The reason why I had this one of is because you go into that. And it's like, brother, I just didn't have the money. I just didn't have the money for those cards.
What a legend.
Yeah, that was no, it really was. It really was. So, all right, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, we are going to get out of here. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have watched till the end, we appreciate it. We thank you so much. And yeah, always, as always, leave your thoughts down below. You know, if you love Yellow and you hated every minute of us talking trash on Yellow, just let us know. You know what I mean?
Sorry.
We do apologize, but not really. You know, it's just how we feel. But other than that, our social medias will be over here on the side, as they probably have been for the vast majority of the podcast. So if you want to check us out, you know where to find us. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great day. Stay happy, stay healthy. And
happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Peace.
Peace.